This week's movie review is another request from OAW patron Double O Soldier. Salute to you, fam. And if you have a film, TV show, or anime that you would like to see reviewed right here on OAW Entertainment, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. And with that being said, this is my review of Office Space. Let's jump into it.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Once again, I want to give another huge shout out to longtime OAW patron and supporter Double O Soldier for his request for this review. And yeah, we're going to talk about Office Space. Now, this is kind of funny, just like with my fantastic Mr. Fox review. Office Space is another one of my favorite comedies. And I got on the Office Space train late. Like, by the time I came across the film, it had already become a cult classic. It had already become the quintessential internet meme film that it is. Like, the popularity of the film was already so off the charts that people were actually surprised I hadn't seen it by the time I actually did. So, but yeah, we're going to go ahead. We're going to chop it up for a little bit about Office Space. So real quick, let me go ahead and give you all a brief rundown about the film. So, Office Space is the 1999 American comedy film written and directed by Mike Judge. It satirizes the everyday work life of a typical mid to late 90s software company, focusing on a handful of individuals fed up with their jobs. It stars Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston, Gary Cole, Stephen Root, David Herman, Ajay Naidu, and Diedrich Bader. And a little bit more back information about the film. Office Space was shot in Dallas and Austin, Texas. It is based on Judge Milton cartoon series and was his first foray into live action filmmaking and his second full-length motion picture release following Beavis and Butthead Do America. The film's sympathetic depiction of ordinary information technology workers garnered a cult following within that field, but it also addresses themes familiar to white-collar employees and the workforce in general. It was a box office disappointment, making $12.2 million against a $10 million budget. But after repeat airings on Comedy Central, it sold well on home video and has become a cult film. All right, so real quick. All right, we got the synopsis. We got some of the background information out of the way. Let me tell you all why I dug Office Space and why, before I even knew anything about the film, like I saw it for the first time. And funny enough, you know what's funny about this? I was fortunate enough not to have like all of the jokes spoiled for me. Like, the only joke I think I knew about Office Space prior to seeing it was that would be great. Oh, that and the TPS reports. Those two. Those were the only two jokes that I knew about the film before I actually saw it. Because like I don't think I saw Family Guy's parody of it before I saw the film. And so many people have done parodies about the film, since, beating up the printer and all that jazz. Yeah. So I wasn't spoiled on a lot of the film before I actually saw it. But as soon as I saw it, I totally dug it. And I didn't know at the time because it was Mike Judge. I'm a huge Mike Judge fan. Always have been. I wasn't the biggest Beavis and Butthead fan, though I do like Beavis and Butthead Do America. That's probably the only thing Beavis and Butthead I really like. But Daria, I grew up on Daria. Like, that's my jam. King of the Hill is my jam. Totally dug that. I think Mike Judge is also responsible for Silicon Valley on HBO. I believe he is. Don't quote me on that. Yes, he is. He is responsible for Silicon Valley. I looked it up real quick. Now, Silicon Valley was a little hit or miss for me. I think that has more to do with the actors and the type of humor in that series. But for the most part, like, what I dig about Mike Judge is he has a very good way of taking the simplest everyday things and finding humor out of them. You know what I mean? Now he knows how to escalate that to like the most to absurd levels of humor, right? Like he knows how to stick his punchline. He knows how to stick the landing, if you will. But I like how just the ideas he have about, oh, let's make a joke about this. Or dude, because King of the Hill is like notorious for this, right? It's infamous for this, right? Dude, some of those episodes, the linchpin in a lot of those episodes is the most basic thing. It's the most basic thing. It's something that happens so often, or maybe it's just like Bobby, like, you know, like Hank finding Bobby smoking. You know, like how many families have actually dealt with that? But look what happens in the course of the episode. Or what's another one? Bill losing his job. You know, something like that. Hank taking Bobby on a hunting trip for the first time. You know, it's those everyday life sort of things. He knows how to not only make a joke about it, but to tell a whole story about it, and to make it not only funny but also relatable. You know what I mean? And because King of the Hill was really good at that. King of the Hill was really, really good at that. Daria, on the other hand, he wrote that in a way that was poignant. So he would make those sort of everyday like observations about like high school, you know, teenagers and high school life and even their home life. But there was always a point behind it, right? There was always a point that, like I said, he knows how to stick those punchlines. He does both things in Office Space. I went on that whole little tangent to say this. He does all of those things in Office Space, right? He makes those observations about the most minute things, those everyday little things, right? He knows how to make a joke about them, you know. So create the levity. He knows how to make it relatable to where you can identify with what that character's response or their reaction or how they're feeling about said thing. Okay. But then there's a point behind it. There's a very poignant message behind it. What I would consider to be the I guess you could say the moral of the story of Office Space, and the big message that culminates by the end of the film, you know, Peter's line, the line at the end of the film, fucking A, right? Like that's the point, dude. I'll get into a little bit more detail about that later in the review. So anyway, all right. So I've already talked about Mike Judge. A lot of my thoughts, criticisms, critique of the film's writing, of the plot, hell, even of the characters, themes, all that jazz stems from him, right? But with this film particularly, so what do I like? What do I like about it? What I think works so well about it? You know, like I said, it's anyone who has ever worked an office job, you can relate to this movie, right? On some level, you can relate to this movie. You can either relate to something that happens in the movie, one of the characters, or both, right? The other thing too is because we're making fun of the everyday work life, guess what? This movie is 21 years old now. It is still relevant. It's still relevant. Why? Because some of these things still happen, dude, especially because like I could make the argument, yes, technically I work in a sort of IT field, right? Like it's not Initech. Like in this movie, it's not portrayed in that fashion. My job's a little bit different, but it's IT related, right? So, you know, some of the things that these guys deal with, I've seen, I can relate to, you know, whether it's, you know, you forgot to cover on your TPS reports, whether it's, you know, your supervisor dogging you about this or dogging you about that, whether it's the notion, and let's be real, dude, we could really get, if I'm trying to focus on the micro. If we really wanted to get big and go macro with this, dude, the notion that you should give your all to a company that you know damn well don't give a shit about you. I mean, that's pretty much, that's not just the IT field. Okay, so it's not just any one company or even the IT field. Dude, you could make that argument about the American workforce in general, right? Because the way in which the workforce is designed, it's designed to dude, it's the hive mentality, right? It's the beehive mentality. It is the ant colony, right? You are all pieces of a whole, and everything is done for the whole, right? Everything is done for the colony. Everything is done for the hive. So whatever that company's objective is, that's what everyone is pulling towards, right? This is one of those stories where it focuses on those ants. It focuses on those bees. It focuses on the people that are responsible for the mechanisms that make the colony or make the hive operate, right? And depending on where you are in that colony or in that hive, you'll have a certain experience with the film. Because if you're a bottom guy, you're going to be able to relate to Peter, to Michael, to Samir. You're going to relate to the Milton, right? You're gonna be able to relate to all of those guys, all of them, right? If you're a blue collar guy, working class guy, hell, you'll be able to relate to Lawrence, right? For the record, I would argue if you haven't seen this film, check it out first. If you've seen this film, if you don't have a Lawrence, go find you a Lawrence. Everybody needs a Lawrence, right? But if you're a blue collar guy, you can relate to Lawrence. Joanne, oh my God, anyone who's ever worked in the service industry, you can relate to Joanna with the pieces of flair and that. Oh my God, dude, don't get me started on that, bro. Do not get me started on that, bro. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can definitely relate to Joanna. So that, I think the film does a really good job. Once again, Mike Judge does a good job at that. He makes it relatable. He makes it identifiable. Like the things these characters deal with, if you haven't experienced it before, I guarantee you probably have seen it happen from a third-party perspective. You've seen it happen to somebody else. And then the other thing too, it's like, once we get introduced to the Bobs and them having to them doing the downsizing, right? How many people have had to deal with a downsizing before, or have seen a downsizing take place, or at least heard of one, right? Just about everybody, right? What about Orlando Jones' character, his brief cameo, right? Where he's going around, he has this poppycock backstory, right? It's a sales pitch. It's a sales pitch because he's going around selling magazine subscriptions. And you find out that he worked for a rival company from Peter, Michael, and Samir, right? But he lets them know he makes more in magazine subscriptions than he ever did at his other company. In 2020, dude, how many people are making more money on their side hustle than they are at their regular job? Real talk. How many people are a Lyft driver, Uber Eats, a deliverer for Amazon or something like that, and you're making more money doing that than you are at your regular job? But maybe you stick with your regular job because that's the one that has the benefits. Oh, and that's the one that has the more job security, and it's more consistent. Whereas those other pursuits, it's hustle. You got to kind of get out and get them on your own, right? You know what I'm saying, dude? That's why I said, like, this film does a good job with all of that stuff. And it's funny. It's still funny. The out of the box, extraordinary stuff that happens in the film, it still hits. The catalyst for the whole film is that Peter gets hypnotized. I've never been hypnotized. I don't know if anybody watching this has ever been hypnotized. Please feel free in the comments below. Let me know. Does hypnotism really work like that? Because that's kind of what gets the ball rolling in the whole story in the first place. It's like, what happens if you take this guy who's an everyman, just like the rest of us, right? Who has the same qualms, the same woes, worries, fears, all that jazz. You give them hypnotism that isn't, I would probably argue, based off of what happens in that scene, I'm not going to spoil it, but what happens in that scene isn't supposed to work that way. But lo and behold, it ends up working, changes his whole perspective on life, changes his whole outlook on life. And because of that, that's what pretty much gets the whole ball rolling in the entire film. Everything that happens with him at his job from that moment on is because of that new paradigm that he's now in, right? But I think that contributes to what that message that I talked about briefly at the beginning of this review talks about, right? Okay, all right. Now that I think about it, it actually is mentioned, like it's explicitly mentioned in the film by another character. Yes, it is. Kind of. Pretty much it's the bare necessities argument, right? That's what it is. That at the end of the day, it's the little things, right? It's the simplest things in life. Those are the things that give you the most pleasure. Those are the things that are the most fulfilling. Being a cog in the wheel, being another, grunt in the system, and everything that comes with that. Like the idea is that you're not supposed to. It's not the end of the world, right? And you're not supposed to find yourself like we all get, stressed out from work. We get bogged down and all those types of things. Like that's not the thing. Like you're not supposed to stay there, right? Because we're talking about temporary things. And actually there is, because it's following the scene where it's, right before this message is explicitly stated in the film, we have a scene where we have one of the characters, they try to use a permanent solution to fix a temporary problem. And we all know that ain't the answer, right? At the end of the day, dude, it's the simplest things, right? It's the simple stuff. That's the stuff that actually matters. All this other minutia, all this other, that's not the shit that matters. That's not the shit that matters, And yeah, and I think that's a powerful message, as simple as it is, it's something that's often forgotten because we hear it so often. But how often do we actually apply that to our own lives, right? And that's what I think the film does a good job at sort of illustrating. Like, granted, I hope no one would ever find themselves in the position that Peter, Michael, and Samir find themselves in, or Milton for that matter. Though I think there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Miltons all over the world, right? But hopefully you never find yourself in that type of situation. But I would hope that, I think that if we sort of take on that bare necessity philosophy, we'd be a lot better off. Hell, at least mentally and emotionally, we'd be a lot healthier. Physically is a different story. Like, especially if you work in a cubicle form, get your ass out of that motherfucking office. Go run. Go hit the gym. Fuck it. Don't even run. Go walk. Go walk. Walk your dog. Hit the gym. Pilates, yoga, whatever suits your fancy. The physical does matter. So make sure that's important. All right. So let's see. What else did I want to touch on in this film? This one's kind of weird because I don't really want to spoil too much about it because I kind of want people to be able, if you haven't seen it, on the off chance you haven't seen it yet, which is very possible. Once again, me, like I said, this film came out in 1999. I didn't see it until 2013. Yeah. So I was behind. I was definitely behind. What the film was out 14 years before I saw it. So yeah, I was late. I was late to the game. And once again, I know I have a lot of young viewers. They might not have seen it yet, so I don't want to spoil too much about it. Hopefully I've said enough that will get you intrigued to want to check it out. But I want to see what else do I really want to talk about, because I don't want to give away all the best jokes. I don't want to do that. Because there's a lot of good ones, a lot of really, really good ones. And I'm gonna see what other characters, because Lumbergh, I feel like isn't a cat. I mean, okay. All right. How about this? Let's talk about some performances. All right. So Ron Livingston does a really good job as Peter. You know what's funny about this, though? This is the only movie I've seen him. I'm pretty sure this isn't his only starring role, but it's the only movie I've seen him in where I thought, like, I go looking for him. I'm like, man, where is this dude? Because he was so good in Office Space, right? I've seen him in other stuff, but it's always a supporting role. So I'm like, man, like he was so good in Office Space. Like, I wonder, like, why is it I haven't seen him in more stuff? But then again, Livingston, he's been acting for a very long time. He's an OG, man. He's been acting a very, very long time. Yeah, since '92. So I'm pretty sure I just haven't come across some of his other main roles, you know. Let's see. Some other actors. Well, okay, Jennifer Aniston, she does a great job. Steve, dude, let me talk about Stephen Root real quick, because I swear this dude has to be like, dude, he's one of the most underrated, in my opinion. He's such an underrated actor. Dude, he's so good. Dude, every time I see him, I know I'm about to get a treat, right? Dude, he's so freaking good. Because I love him in this film as Milton. Dude, when he showed up in Get Out, I was like, oh my God, right? Dude, he's one of my favorite. I think he's the breakout performance in Dodgeball. Yeah, and then of course, you know, him as a voice talent, because in King of the Hill, of course. But I don't know. I still think like I don't hear people talk about him as much as I think they should. Dude, that dude's such a good freaking actor, man. Gary Cole, of course, he's another OG comedian. He's always good. He's even good in some performances I wouldn't like. Cause he was on that show. What was the name of that show? Veep, I think, on HBO. Dude, he was great in that. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen plenty of his commercials and whatnot. I mean, he's an OG. He's hilarious. What else can be said about him? Diedrich Bader is another one. You know, he's a cool comedian. I think most people would probably know him from the Drew Carey Show. Now that I think about it, he's also another really good voice talent. But yeah, I mean, he's another one. Like, he's like a John C. Reilly. He's a really good character actor. So yeah, I mean, and granted, I know I'm talking about a lot of guys who, because you know, a lot of guys that those I call them like the SNL crew, because not all of them are in SNL or have been they're not all SNL alum, but they've all started out with sort of that type of comedy, and they're really good at it. So, dang, I'm trying to think who else that I wanted to mention. John C. McGinley, yeah, who is an SNL actor. Or I believe, I'm pretty sure he was SNL. I'm pretty sure he was, but most people know him from Scrubs. Yeah, he's good in this. Let me see, who else do I want to bring up? Mike McShane. I mentioned Orlando Jones earlier. Yeah. David Herman, another one. Old school comedian. He's from Mad TV though. But I know him mostly from his voice acting. That's mostly what I know him from. But yeah. So coming up on 25 minutes now. Anything else I want to say about Office Space? Probably not. Probably not anything else I can mention without just outright spoiling it. And I don't want to do that because if you haven't experienced the film yet, you owe it to yourself to check it out. I think I think just about anybody can get a kick out of it. Yeah. If nothing else, I mean, there are worse comedies, right? That's not to say that this one is bad, but I'm saying like even if it does nothing else for you, then it's just a popcorn flick. It's gonna be a funny ass one. I'm just gonna put it like that. But anyway, so yeah, that's gonna go ahead. That's gonna wrap up this review. Once again, I want to give another huge shout out, another huge thank you to longtime OAW patron and supporter Double O Soldier. Thanks again for the request. And another reminder to everybody: if you have a film, TV show, anime, comic, manga, anything like that you want to see reviewed right here on OAW Entertainment, check out that link. Become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. Check out the tiers. Select the one that suits your fancy. Of course, the one that suits your budget, as always. And give it a whirl. Give it a look. Hit up your boy. Let's make it happen. So, once again, if you like this review, if you like this video, if you dug it, give it a thumb up, give it a like, share it with your friends, family, anybody you think might get a kick out of it. Share it on social media by all means. That helps a ton. And last but certainly not least, if this is your first time checking out OAW Entertainment, if you have not yet become a subscriber, please subscribe to OAW Entertainment on YouTube, youtube.com/OAW Entertainment. And make sure you click that bell so you get the notification on my latest releases, my latest live streams. And also remember the community tab on YouTube. I let you guys know whenever I'm live on Twitch. So make sure you ring that bell so you get notified on that as well. And of course, I'm on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. All those links are in the description box below. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off and I will catch you cats next time. Peace.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?